Chapter 1, A Way of Viewing Business. Reality leaves a lot to the imagination. John Lennon. I hate cameras. They are so much more sure than I am about everything. John Steinbeck. In this chapter, you will have the chance to ask yourself, what is accounting? Is accounting a game where we can just manipulate and move around accounting numbers to get the results we want? Or is accounting perhaps about using a computer software package to manage a firm's accounts, whatever that might mean? You can Google accounting software packages in Australia and New Zealand to find a long list of packages people use, particularly in small to medium-sized businesses, such as MYOB, Mind Your Own Business, Xero, or Reckon One. Is this what accounting is about? Recording a whole lot of transactions of a business, like a memory aid? At least such a task has been made easier with the use of computers. We will look at why and how aspects of the economic and business realities of firms are captured and recorded into a firm's accounts. Now, a firm's accounts are not themselves the economic and business realities of firms. Accounting is also not like a corporate camera, taking precise photos of what is going on. Rather, each firm experiences its own economic and business realities quite independently of what gets recorded in its accounts. But some aspects or elements of what is going on in a firm are recorded in its accounts in certain ways. We'll look at why these realities get captured and recorded in the way they do. Understanding this will help us as we seek to learn how to use a firm's accounts to engage with and connect to a firm's economic and business realities. That is, to know what is really going on in a business. Accounting is supposed to help us connect to reality, to what is going on in a firm. And in this chapter, we can start to ask ourselves whether we think accounting can really help us do this. We'll look at some of the key ideas and concepts underlying the complex way we have developed to account for business activities. And we will see that underlying accounting is a way of viewing business, a way of imagining business. Accounting is, at the end of the day, a model. Not a fashion model or a model plane, but a business model. It is a model or simplification of each firm's economic and business realities. It is an abstraction of all the complex activities of a firm. If we are to consider whether we think accounting can help or hinder us to better connect to what is really going on in a firm, we first need to understand the business model underlying accounting, and to ask ourselves whether we think it is a powerful or useful way of viewing a business. Before we do this, let us first look at what business reality is. 1.1. It is all about reality. First, you must understand how numbers changed reality. Some people think numbers merely reflect reality, but we believe that numbers create reality. The Accounting Troll, teaching Dilbert how to be an accountant. Accounting is about using information to help us connect to the business realities of a firm. It is about understanding reality. Accounting is about understanding the realities of business, what is really going on in a firm. Or is it? This is the question we will be able to reflect on in this chapter and throughout this study guide. It is a key issue we will find we keep coming back to as we develop our capacity to use and make sense of accounting information. It is a great journey to go on, and a very important one for anyone with a serious interest in business, whether working in, running, or investing in businesses. Business is a fascinating and wonderful world to work and live in. Business is about creating value, substantial, real, actual value. Value is a word to describe things that matter to us, that we care about, that mean something to us. Business is about serving people's real needs and desires in a world and human society where we constantly construct and develop and change our views of value, of what is important, of what we need, of where we want to go in life. Business is where we can make a difference. And not just in our own lives and in the lives of those close to us, but in the lives of many, many people, most of whom we may never meet or know personally. As in all things in life, we can make a difference for the better or for the worse. In Australia, New Zealand and many other countries of the world, a lot of economic activity is conducted by people operating in firms that are interacting with other people and firms in markets, in all sorts of markets. We are surrounded by markets everywhere in which we are exchanging value between each other. Indeed, firms are constantly creating and exchanging value with other firms and with individuals through various markets: input markets with suppliers and employees, product markets with customers, and in capital markets with equity and debt investors. A firm also has interactions with government through taxation and a wide range of government regulations and services, and with the wider community. Now, a firm can create value and it can also destroy value through its business activities, just as we can in our personal relationships and in our individual activities each day. Creating or destroying value, this is the challenge before us each day in business. How do we run our businesses to create value for ourselves and others, rather than destroy value? And how can we determine the value of businesses we might want to invest in based on their capacity to create value in the future? In this study guide, you will have the opportunity to consider the role accounting might have to help or perhaps hinder us in creating value in business and in our investing activities. There are people with accounting qualifications everywhere in business. About half of the directors of listed companies in Australia and New Zealand have accounting backgrounds of some sort, as do about half of the managing directors of these listed companies. For example, the managing director of Ryman Healthcare in New Zealand, a company we will be looking at quite a bit, is Gordon MacLeod, a qualified chartered accountant who was previously the chief financial officer of Ryman Healthcare. People with accounting qualifications, and most importantly an understanding of how to use accounting to connect with the economic and business realities of firms, are everywhere in business. I wonder why this might be. Might there be something important for us to connect to in the business discipline of accounting if I want to be successful in business? Maybe, or maybe not. People have a range of views about this. These are questions you can ask yourself as we have a look at accounting in this study guide. Quite a few years ago, I was at a Christmas function at a friend's house. I had submitted my PhD thesis on accounting education the day before, and this was one of the topics of conversation during the party that day. A senior New Zealand politician was at the party, and he told me he has an accounting degree, as well as other qualifications. As we discussed my PhD, I could see he fully understood the issues I was researching. How to support students studying accounting at university to not just look at accounting numbers, such as profit, as being some sort of answer or reality themselves, but instead to see we use accounting information to seek to engage with what is really going on in a business. You see, something funny can easily happen as we study accounting and focus on the numbers. We can subtly start to feel the numbers are the answer, rather than the business reality the numbers seek to represent. Firms can do many things and be a range of different sizes. In fact, they seem to be all over the place in terms of what they do and the types of businesses they are. Business reality for firms is a very diverse and fast-moving world. This is the world accounting seeks to help us engage with and better understand. Firms can be involved in providing services to customers, retailing products, or manufacturing products. That is, making physical goods that they sell to their customers. Many businesses can mix up in different ways, providing services, retailing products, and manufacturing products. For example, a hairdresser may sell hairdressing services and sell hair products. A restaurant may sell meals it manufactures from raw ingredients, as well as provide great table service and the experience of a great night out. Businesses are everywhere. As the numerous businesses were listed in Yeppoon, I came to realise the sheer number of businesses in the world. It made me question just how many there must be. It shows just how much of an impact and massive part businesses play in our society, as they are not only a necessity, but a social and fundamental outlet for people. Student, Act 11059. I'm writing this chapter in Yeppoon, a small coastal town in central Queensland near Rockhampton. I had a short walk around the area, and businesses I saw included dentist, Icon Dental Group, and right next door the Coffee Club, a cafe with a great spot just near the beach. Nearby is Elders Real Estate, Yeppoon Car Wash, and Sullivan Nicolaides Pathology, which provides medical services. There's also David Eady & Co. Solicitors, Johnson & Tennant Chartered Accountants, CEADS, Capricorn Engineering and Drafting Services, Yeppoon Medical Centre, Better Electrical Yeppoon, electrical retailer, Young's Coaches, the local bus company, Subway, Rip Curl, clothing and swimwear retailer, Sleep Zone, beds and bedding retailer, Paint Place Yeppoon, paint retailer, Yeppoon Tattoo Studio, tattoo services, Tamby Roses Florist, retails flowers and manufactures flower arrangements, James Street Medical Centre and Centrelink Yeppoon, a government agency providing social welfare payments. Other businesses I saw were Dollars and Cents, discount variety store, Sail Inn Motel, sells accommodation services, Office National Express, retails office supplies, Happy Sun Chinese Restaurant, SM Western Optometrist, sells eye services and retails spectacles, Yeppoon Health and Fitness Centre, gym services, Pacific Hotel, Wavelengths, hairdresser, Megalomania, bar and bistro, Jark's Coastal Meats, butcher, St Ursula's College, a private school that sells education services, Coles, supermarket, Ian Way Toyota, car dealer, Regal's Dental, another dentist, Blue Dolphin Caravan Park, Seaside Pools, builder of pools, Yeppoon Self-Storage, Flexi Hire, equipment hire and sales, What a Sign, sign makers, printer and website designer, Central Queensland Sail Makers, retails, installs and manufactures yacht sails, shade sails and marine upholstery, Yeppoon Veterinary Surgery, Yeppoon Kitchens, manufactures and installs kitchens, Firewood to Furniture, manufactures custom-built timber furniture, and Trevor's Trim and Upholstery, retails, installs and manufactures shade sails, blinds, marine and household upholstery. I took a few photos of these businesses, which are included in Figure 1.1 below. There were also many other businesses just a short walk from where I'm living at Yeppoon. For example, there are many hairdressers in Yeppoon besides Wavelengths, other butchers besides Jark's Coast Meats, and several gyms, fitness centres. There are businesses everywhere we look. Everywhere. There are small businesses and large businesses. There are organisations run by government, such as Centrelink, and businesses owned by private people. Some privately owned businesses are run and owned by one or two people, such as SM Western Optometrist. Others are large businesses owned by thousands of shareholders and with large numbers of staff, such as Coles. Some businesses provide services, such as CADS, Capricorn Engineering and Drafting Services. Others are retailers and sell products such as meat, Jark's Coastal Meats, or cars, Ian Way Toyota. And others are manufacturers and make various goods, such as Firewood to Furniture, maker of custom-built timber furniture. All these businesses, which I saw on my short walk around Yeppoon, would keep accounts. That is right, every single one. Why would they do this? They would employ accountants. Some might have whole departments of accountants, such as Coles and Centrelink, and others, such as smaller firms like Tamby Roses Florist, might employ the services of an external accountant, either a part-time accountant who might come in, say, a few days a month, or the services of an accounting firm, such as perhaps Johnson & Tennant, chartered accountants in Yeppoon. The owners would also spend quite a bit of time keeping the books themselves, no doubt, recording transactions of their firms in their accounts. If you are currently running or were an owner or was thinking of purchasing any of these businesses, you would find various accounting information coming your way. What would you do with this accounting information? What would this accounting information look like and what would it be for? And what sense do you think you could possibly make of it? Types of businesses. Besides doing a wide range of activities which we can broadly think of as service, retail or manufacturing, businesses can also be organised in different ways. A small business with just one owner, who also runs the business, may be organised as a sole trader that has no separate legal status apart from its owner. For example, Tanby Rose's florist may use this structure. Most businesses in Australia and New Zealand, and in most countries of the world, are small businesses run as sole traders. Where there is more than one owner, the business may be run as a partnership, such as perhaps David Eadie and Co. solicitors. These groups of owners pool their resources and share in the firm's profits and losses. The relationship between the owners, called partners, is usually set out in a partnership agreement. This helps make the relationship between the partners clear. As those of us who may have gone flatting with others know, disputes and problems can arise between flatmates as we live together. It is the same with a business. Once there is more than one owner, disputes and problems can arise between the owners. It is for this reason there is usually a written partnership agreement to help the partners sort out disputes they might have over time. Businesses can also be organised as a company. Unlike sole traders and partnerships, companies are their own separate legal entity, separate to the owners, and must comply with the Corporations Act in Australia. Coles is a listed company with more than 100,000 employees and over 11 million customer transactions each week. That is right, each week. Businesses can also be organised as a trust. A trust is a relationship where a trustee, which can be a person or a company, but not a partnership, carries on a business for the benefit of certain beneficiaries, people who will benefit from the business and who are its effective owners. Trusts would have a trust deed which sets out the relationship between the beneficiaries and with the trustee. Now, a trust can only conduct business through a trustee. It is likely some of the businesses I saw as I walked around Yeppoon have a trust somewhere in their ownership structure. Along with this study guide, you'll be using a spreadsheet to support you to analyse your own listed company. As we have the chance to experience for ourselves what it is like to use accounting information to help us make sense of and understand what is really going on in our firm, we can start to form our own judgments and opinions about the role of accounting in business, and whether accounting information can help or perhaps hinder us to better engage with and understand what is really going on in a firm. In this section, we have seen that business reality is all around us, including even in Yeppoon, Queensland. Indeed, there are a lot of businesses everywhere we look. We've seen that accounting is supposed to, but possibly may or may not, help us connect to and better understand this reality. In the next section, we'll see that accounting starts with keeping records about what is going on in a firm. 1.2. Keeping records. You have to know accounting. It's the language of practical business life. It was a very useful thing to deliver to civilization. I've heard it came to civilization through Venice, which of course was once the great commercial power in the Mediterranean. However, double entry account bookkeeping was a hell of an invention. Charlie Munger. In this section, we'll discuss the importance and necessity of first recording things a firm does, and especially its transactions with various parties, before a firm's accounts can be of any use to anyone. Basically, unless things a firm does are first recorded and included in a firm's accounting system in some way, then a firm's accounts can give us no guidance or help in understanding its economic and business realities. A range of different people have genuine interests in the operations of firms. These might include managers of a firm, equity investors, debt investors, employees, customers, suppliers, the government, and the general community. Also, firms can be commercial enterprises, not-for-profit entities, or public sector entities. What we will look at about accounting can apply to any type of firm, although we will focus on commercial enterprises. Regardless of the type of firm or who might have a genuine interest in gaining insights into the economic and business realities of a firm, the question we can reflect on is whether a firm's accounts may help or perhaps hinder us in gaining these insights. Luca Pacioli. In the first instance, a firm's accounts come from the transactions and other economic events someone has recorded in a firm's accounting system. A way of recording these transactions has developed over a long period. It is called double-entry bookkeeping or double-entry accounting. Luca Pacioli, circa 1445 to 1517, an Italian mathematician and Franciscan monk, published the Summa di Arithmetica Geometrica Proporzioni e Proporzionalità in 1494. It is a summary of the mathematical knowledge of the time, which we see today as quite elementary arithmetic, geometry, and algebra, and included bookkeeping as one of the 5 topics covered. Its section on bookkeeping is the first published book describing double-entry accounting, a method of accounting that was being used by merchants in Venice during the Italian Renaissance. His system included most of the aspects of accounting as we know it today. Although Luca Pacioli is usually referred to as the father of accounting, he did not invent the system of double-entry accounting. He was simply the first to describe it in a published book. Double-entry accounting has probably been going on much earlier than Luca Pacioli's time, in the late 15th century. For example, the partners Francesco de Marco de Prata and Domenica de Cambrio drew up a detailed statement of assets and liabilities on August 30, 1389, quite in the modern manner. Fulk, 1968, page 4. Why did accounting for a firm's economic and business realities develop in the way it did? Surely it would have been easier to simply enter in transactions once rather than twice, as occurs in double-entry accounting. Why make it so hard on ourselves? Also, as we'll see in section 1.3 below, once a transaction is entered in twice, they are then re-entered again and manipulated in various ways. At first sight, this seems like a lot of double handling. At second and third look, it also seems like a lot of double handling. We build on the past. History unfolds itself by strange and unpredictable paths. We have little control over the future and none at all over the past. Winston Churchill. When we are present in each moment, the past gently rolls up behind us and the future slowly unravels before us. Richard Levy. To understand how accounting is the way it is, we need to remember we were not born into a world with a big blank page in front of us. Many, many people have lived before us. The first civilizations of people sprung up in a few parts of the world about 5,500 years ago. Our societies, our cultures, the way we do things have developed over many generations, with each generation starting with what the previous generation had left it with. Our generation is no different. One of the things I enjoy is playing musical instruments, especially the piano. I would play the piano for hours every day, given the chance. When I went to university, PCs were only just starting to make an appearance. Typewriters were still everywhere. In my first year at university, I quickly discovered that in my law degree, I needed to hand in a lot of typed assignments. This would involve me paying someone to type my assignments for me. It also meant I had to complete my assignments a few days before the deadline to give my typist time to type them. So over the summer holidays at the end of my first year at university, I taught myself to touch type. It took me 8 hours, followed by a lot of practice. This was the most valuable and useful 8 hours I've ever spent in my life, and possibly the most boring. Because I had played musical instruments over the years, and in particular the piano, the flexibility of my fingers was very good. All I needed to do was memorize where the keys were on the keyboard and practice it a bit so I could type accurately, and I was away. I found I could quickly type as fast as I could write, so I could hand in my law assignments without paying for a typist, and I also did not need to have them written a few days in advance of deadlines. But as I learned how to type, I quickly realized the keys for the letters often used together in words in English were a long way apart from each other on the keyboard. This makes typing more difficult and less intuitive. The layout of the keyboard did not seem to make any sense to me at all. It seemed to me it would be a lot easier to type if the letters commonly used together in words were near each other rather than a long way apart on the keyboard. And in fact, it would. So what gives? Why is the keyboard on our computer designed the way it is? The reason is that the keyboard we use with our computers was first designed for typewriters. The most common English keyboard layout is called QWERTY. Have a look sometime at the first 6 letters on your keyboard's top first row of letters, and you'll see why it is called QWERTY. Christopher Sholes invented this keyboard in the 1860s, and it first appeared in Remington typewriters in 1874. Christopher Sholes was a newspaper editor who lived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just north of Chicago, in the US. He first set up the keys on his typewriters in alphabetical order. The second row of letters on the keyboard, namely A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L, seems to be a remnant of Christopher Sholes' first alphabetical layout that he replaced with the QWERTY layout. Now, typewriters had a ribbon of ink onto which individual letters in raised metal at the end of an arm were hit in sequence. Christopher Sholes noticed that as the operators of his typewriters started typing faster, the metal arms that held each letter and which struck the paper started to hit each other and get tangled up. He found that typing worked much better if the arms of the letters that were commonly used together in words were well apart. Otherwise, the arms could tend to get caught up with each other as they moved onto and off the ribbon. You've probably noticed that computers do not have these metal arms moving up and down as we type on our computers. So why do we use the keyboard with our computers that was designed for use with typewriters? The reason is simple. It would be very difficult to retrain everyone in the world who can already type to type in a different way, compared to the reasonably limited benefits for people who cannot type yet to make it easier for them to learn to touch type in the first place. It is the same with some terms we use in our word processing on computers, such as cut and paste, when we delete something from one part of our document and put it somewhere else. When things were done on paper, we literally cut out a piece of text and pasted it with glue or sticky tape onto another part of our document. This is the same with double entry accounting. The process belongs to the world of the past. Yet we are caught up in that past, and it constrains and leads us forwards as we participate in the digital age. So today computers do a lot of the steps of double entry accounting for us. But we need to understand how these things work, because our whole accounting system is built on these ideas. If there is nothing else you remember from reading this chapter, you should remember that ideas are powerful. If we had computers to keep the records of businesses 1,000 years ago, we may well have gone about accounting very differently, perhaps using quite different ideas. But we did not. As we'll see later, the key thing to remember about double entry accounting is that it is a system of recording transactions of a firm in such a way as to ensure the relationship between the different elements of the business model that underpins accounting is kept intact. Accounting is based on a model or way of looking at business. It is a powerful way of looking at a firm's economic and business realities. We will look at this business model in sections 1.3 and 1.4 below. A deep understanding bias of this way of looking at business could challenge the way we view business reality, from a perception of business based on commonly held misconceptions about how business works, to a view based on a deep understanding of the powerful ideas and concepts of accounting. These ideas pervade the way accounting is carried out. These ideas were developed from a time before computers, before the printing press, indeed when quills and paper were high-tech. Bookkeeping without books. With the growing availability of computers since the 1960s, progressively firms' accounts have moved into a digital form. Various accounting software packages have been developed, sometimes tailored to the specific needs of a firm. Other times, firms use general packages that they can adapt and use for their own purposes. Some commonly used general accounting software packages that many small to medium-sized business firms use in Australia and New Zealand, and indeed in many other countries, are MYOB, Mind Your Own Business, Xero, and Reckon One. Other accounting software packages have names such as QuickBooks, Sage Pastel, Sage One, FreshBooks, and MoneyWorks. Spreadsheet packages such as Excel are also widely used to record and manipulate and manage data. In my own private equity business, I managed the bookkeeping of the management firm myself for several years using MYOB. It was a straightforward process. I often recorded transactions on the day they occurred, or at the end of the week, or on a Friday or Saturday afternoon. As the business had only a small number of transactions, it was easy to manage the bookkeeping myself. I then used a firm of accountants to complete my firm's financial statements and tax returns based on the information captured in the accounting package. Slightly larger businesses may often employ someone to complete the bookkeeping each week or each month on a part-time basis. Larger firms will usually employ full-time staff to enter data and to ensure the bookkeeping processes are being correctly followed. The first decade of the 21st century is often called the digital decade. Quite quickly, everything was converted to digital formats that are readily able to be communicated between computers anywhere in the world through a growing web of wireless and cable interconnections. In almost all cases, except perhaps for a few small businesses, everyone's accounting record keeping or bookkeeping is being done digitally or electronically. So the books of the past have gone. Bookkeeping is now almost always done without any books. Bookkeeping is now a redundant word. It would be better called record keeping, or even better, capturing what is going on. We have seen that the systematic recording of transactions and economic events of a firm, which we call bookkeeping, even though the paper books have largely disappeared and been digitised, is essential to accounting. Without it, there would be no record of the economic and business activities of a firm in a firm's accounting system. We've also seen that the way these activities of firms are recorded by way of double entry accounting is an historical accident. It made sense in the days of quills and paper, yet it frames the way we record transactions today. And more importantly, the whole way of looking at business, that is the business model underpinning accounting, remains the same in our digital age. This way of looking at business, which we'll look at in the rest of this chapter, has proved to be a powerful way of looking at the economic and business realities of firms for many years. You may possibly find it a powerful way for you to look at business as well. In studying accounting, there are a few key things we need to understand. We will now look at some of these in the next section.